Welcome to the Master Passive Income Show. My name's Dustin Heiner, and I'm here to help you learn how to quit that JOB, that just over broke job, by investing in real estate rental properties so you never, ever have to work a job again. Today, I'm super excited to bring on one of my students who's actually doing a fantastic, in fact, phenomenal job investing in real estate back in 2019. December of 2019, that very tail end of December in 2019, he started work with me and then bought property after property, even through COVID. Now he has 22 units, 11 duplexes, and is destroying this business. He's doing a phenomenal job. Benjamin, thank you so much for being on the show, man.
Dustin, thanks for having me, man. Really, always a pleasure to talk to you. And yeah, man, I can't. I know I've said this to you when we met in person a few months ago. Just like, man, this has really changed the trajectory of my life. What you taught me, and man, it's so exciting. It's just fun to share with other people because it's just. Yeah, I mean, 2 years ago, this wasn't even a twinkle in my eye. I had no idea what was going on in this world, and now I'm deep in it. So
You're so deep in it, and this is also nothing that I definitely got to bring up. You, after working with me, it's been amazing seeing your life change. I've been blessed to be a part of that, seeing that huge transformation. You reached out to me and said, "Hey, is there any way that I can help out? Like, is there any way that I could do anything?" And now you're actually helping me with taking on calls for people who want coaching and helping other potential students to see how they can actually take part in everything that we do in a Master Passive Income. So that was super encouraging. And then now you're taking on the calls, which we can talk about in the future. Now, I want to talk about how you now went from zero in basically 18 months to 22 units. Let's talk about quickly first. What got you over that hurdle to say, yes, I can do it, and I'm going to do that, and then into the first, second, and then obviously all the way down to the 22nd property?
no, great question. And actually, it's good that you mentioned those calls because I talk about this journey every time I talk to someone on one of those calls. And one of the things I always say is, one of the biggest things I got out of the coaching was just that last push to kind of get me over the hump. Obviously, as I went through your curriculum, I learned a lot of things. I had all the knowledge, but there was still that gap of like, I'm not sure if I can actually pull this off in terms of, pulling the trigger. And so having you there to kind of validate it for me was what I needed to jump off. Whereas, if I were to go to my wife and pitch this and it was all just my idea, I don't know that we ever would have pulled the trigger. So that's what was really, honestly, the thing that really got me over the top is having someone who's done it before, who's done the exact same thing and kind of validating that.
And let me quickly jump in and say, so I went to a conference. It was a podcasting conference in Nashville. And I had no idea. I didn't even think to reach out to anybody, but I go to a meetup. It was like on the third day, a specific time, like the time was changed, the location would change, and it got changed to a time where I start going to a restaurant. And I get out of my friend's car and I start walking to the restaurant, and there I see you. I was like, what in the world? This is awesome. And so you and I finally get to meet face to face after you've done such an amazing job investing and then being able to talk to you and your wife. And one thing that really stood out to me was how you were able to buy that first property, because you were questioning. In fact, even your wife was also like, oh, I don't know if this is the right property to buy. And do you remember, because you relayed this to me, so you probably remember, but I said something to you that made you say, well, we better buy it then.
I remember, we both looked at the numbers. The numbers looked good, but it just still was this scary thing of like, I don't know, like, are we going to, jump into something that, we're going to regret or something like that. And then, you literally told me like, all right, well, I'm going to call your realtor and buy this property if you don't do it. So I was like, all right, well, that's all I need to hear. And so we pulled the trigger after that.
Exactly. I mean, the deal was looking so terrific. I was like, Benjamin, if you don't buy this, I'm going to buy it. Like, just give it to me if you're going to buy it. And you did. This first deal was such an amazing deal that it was almost like, if you think of baseball, if base hits are just decent properties making $250 a month. If you get a double, you're making 300 plus. A triple, like, you're doing really well. You're getting a 350 to 400. But this was like a grand slam. Not only you're making a lot of money in passive income, but also at the same time, you only have $2,000 into the deal. Now, if you want to listen to Benjamin's past episode where he literally walked through the entire process, we can definitely check that out, because I want to talk to Benjamin and share with you how Benjamin has now scaled his business, which is even more. So check the link in the description for that past interview so you can see how he did that. Now, Benjamin, once you got that first property, How quickly did the second and third one come after that one?
The second one came pretty quick. I believe it was about 3 or 4 months later was the second one. And then right after that, I got laid off during COVID.
That's right. I forgot that.
Yeah, so that was
Even with getting laid off, you bought 22 units. Even with getting laid off in the middle of it, that's amazing.
totally, yeah. So it was really honestly kind of at the beginning. So it was right after the second property. Got laid off. Kind of had a couple months to try to figure out what was going on and stuff like that, but kind of kept those relationships with realtors and property managers and kind of keeping my head down to deals, even though I knew I couldn't pull the trigger right away. And then I guess the third one we closed on in August, and then the fourth one we closed last December. So yeah, basically entered 2021 with 8 units across 4 duplexes.
People are going to definitely have the thought of, well, how do you get the money, especially getting laid off? How do you get the finances to then scale the business to buy the next one? Because most people think we have to get a mortgage for every single one. Like we find a realtor and a mortgage and a mortgage broker, we put them together and we buy a house. But there's other options. So how do you get the financing to be able to buy these properties?
Yeah. So for these first four, a lot of it was recycling money. So with that first property, we were able to buy it for a good price, put a little money into it, refinance, and pull cash out. I know that was a lot of things in a short sentence, but then was able to use that kind of for the next deal. And then with the third and the fourth, we just did traditional mortgages, but we're able to find good rates and 20% down on some pretty low priced properties. And then really once we got into 2021, that's when we had to start looking really outside of our own finances. And that's when it's kind of gotten a little more interesting and a little bit, a little bit creative. And at first, once again, a little bit scary. I think I tell people all the time, like, real estate is it's just a journey of constantly solving problems. And I really believe that. And I think if you're one to see a challenge and give up, this probably isn't the industry for you. But if you do like to solve problems, I think this is a great industry because there's it's not a straight path all the time, and you're going to run up against things. But I think the thing that encourages me is that there's always a solution, some way, somehow. And there's been plenty of times in this last 2 years I thought things were just not possible, and having keeping conversations going. I think that's where networking and really having a good relationship of people to bounce stuff off is really, really important. Yeah, you can do a lot of things on your own, but if you have a network, I think it makes it a lot easier. Obviously I bounce stuff off of you. I've got Charles, one of the other coaches here. I've got lots of folks to have those conversations with, and I think those have been invaluable and helped me think about things that I thought were just simply not possible.
And that's a great point. And so I've had the question posed to me where if you lost all your properties, basically you didn't have any income coming in, but you had $1,000, how would you rebuild your entire business? And I thought to myself, and I really replied, well, that $1,000 would be great, but I literally wouldn't even worry about that. Like, that's so little, it's not going to help. What I would do, though, is I would network. I would find as many people as possible around and build them around me so that I can either utilize their money or utilize their properties that they want to sell, or find somebody that's going to manage the property. Like, I'm going to network and network and network, because here's the interesting thing. When I'm coaching students, some coaching students would say, actually, a lot of them say something like this: well, should I start saving money for investing? Or should I start looking for properties? Or should I get education? Or they always have these ors. My opinion is you literally do it all at the same time. You save money at the same time as you're doing your education. While you're doing your education, as I'm coaching you, start building your business. Because I give you step 1, step 2, step 3. So the education, financing, and the business building, literally do it all at once. And in that time, while you're waiting, just like you did, Benjamin, waiting either for financing to come through or to save up for more money, you already have these contacts, these networks that are, you might even get a seller finance deal that you never would have known that was existed because you didn't have that network. Building that network is so, so crucial. Okay, so you've built that network. You've already have 4 properties getting into 2022. Now, what was the like how did you make that shift? Now you have, instead of just 4 properties, now you've grown to 11 properties. How did you then scale the business to get more properties?
Yeah, great question. I think first off, it goes back to what you're saying about networking. What you have to do is just really not only network in the sense of like meet people and like make the connections. I think it's also just important to like, as much as you can do work with people, whether that's you're actually, doing deals with people or you're giving them referrals. Like you have to show people that they're going to get something out of it because we all have an inherent selfish, you know, part of ourselves where we're looking to spend our time wisely on things we're going to see a return on. So I think what happened with us is just that these relationships that we built with realtors and different people with financing and stuff, we were able to find deals a little bit more easily, and we were realtors were wanting to work with us more effectively, and we're willing to put more into negotiating and putting their own time and work into the deal because they seen we were good for it and will actually kind of follow through. So I really do think that there's this. I can't really explain entirely how it works, but there's this compounding effect of you put in enough work, you have enough um, time and effort you put into relationships with people, it just compounds. And that's really what 2021 has shown. We had 2 deals come through. We bought 2 deals in January. We closed actually 2 deals within 3 days, which I never thought we'd ever do.
Ooh,
Um,
that's fantastic.
yeah, so that was cool. One of those was a private financing. So that was just finding actually a family member in that example that had some money. They were afraid of what's going on with the stock market, with just the volatility, and was like, yeah, I mean, I'd love to just get some guaranteed interest on my money. So was able to do that, and then another one came around in March. We actually through a contact through a realtor, he was willing to set me up with one of his private lender contacts. It was like the first person he'd ever referred to this private lender, and we were able to buy it with that guy's money. I still have never met the guy in person. Talked to him on the phone like twice. Yeah, and then really that put us at 7. And then this last deal that we just did was actually 4 duplexes in one, which really felt. If you would have told me 2 years ago we were going to do that, I would have said, "There's no way." um,
Yep.
but yeah, once again, it was just like hitting a roadblock of like, all right, here's a good deal. And that's kind of what you're saying, like getting that education, and while you're getting the education, actually looking at deals, because at some point, like I think it comes down to like if a good enough deal comes around, you need to jump on it, get it under contract. That's one fear that I had to get over is just putting things under contract. Doesn't cost you anything. If anything, it costs you your earnest money that you can get back. So my thing now is just like trying to get more stuff under contract, and this deal was just too good. And honestly, when I got it under contract, I didn't even know how we were going to close it money wise. I just knew this is a good deal and we can't let it slide. I think the biggest thing with real estate is just you take the next step, and then you're going to hit a roadblock, and then you got to figure out what to do from there. And this deal
Absolutely.
was like the epitome of that. It happened multiple times. I think we started the converse. I think we put in our first offer in I think May, and we didn't close until the end of September, or no, beginning of October. So it was a long tail deal, but it was really 4 deals in one. So it was by far in a way worth it. But yeah, once again, it was just taking the next step, and then we realized, all right, well, we need to find financing, and had to do a lot of research and found a private lending company that just has a big fund where they do this, and so that was another thing we've never done before, and had to figure that out. But yeah, was able to pull it off, and it's been a wild ride the last couple of years. But like I said, I think there's that compounding thing of you put in enough work, you get enough education, and that's the thing is even if you do go through. For people out there, even if you go through Dustin's curriculum, it is amazing. It's incredible. But I think one of the biggest things Dustin would tell you too is that the learning really never ends, and you always have to be adapting. Things are changing in the market, changes are happening in laws and all sorts of stuff. So you kind of always have to be learning, and I find that exciting. But yeah, that's been a big lesson over this year for sure.
Yeah, and that's something like I'm an investor. That's what I do. So people might ask me, "Well, Dustin, do you make more money from your online business and your real estate?" Like, no, I make a lot more money in my real estate. It's just this is what I do for fun. I get to hang out with people like Benjamin and just coach people and see their lives dramatically change because that comes from real estate. I have the ability because of my real estate. And when you're thinking about Benjamin's life in literally 18 months has dramatically changed. Where more than likely, and let me ask you, don't give me any numbers because I know like my wife doesn't want me to share any of our numbers. That's just how she is. But if you wanted to and you got laid off, would you be set up where you didn't have to work?
Yeah, yeah, certainly. I mean, I could certainly, yeah, definitely. If I got laid off tomorrow, I wouldn't necessarily be in a rush to get another job for sure.
Having that perspective of like, I can change my life by even by one property and then let alone two, three, four and keep growing. Now, what's interesting as I'm coaching students, what I'm seeing in the shift in them is that mind shift that you actually took from the beginning saying, you know what, I'm going to do it. And then once you buy that first property, everything else just becomes like dominoes. And I think you're 100% like, knocking over and over and over and over. You're 100% right though. As an investor, we solve problems. A problem could be, hey, this is a really good deal, but I don't have financing. That's the problem. Well, if it's a good deal, you're going to find financing. It's just how many people do you need to talk to before you actually get the financing done? Because if it's a great deal, like that first property that you had, if you'd have said, well, Dustin, I'll go ahead and sell it to you for $1,000 as a wholesaling fee, I'm like, done. Let's do it because this is a great deal. And so there, if it's a good deal, everybody's going to buy it. And that's something that in the real estate wealth builders, as well as the one-on-one coaching, I love connecting all my students together. So I have so many students that are looking for deals. And so if one of my students, like you, Benjamin, say, well, this is a good deal, but it's not fitting us right now, you could take it to our students. They're literally going to buy it because they're realizing this fits into the master passive income business model. Now, tell me about, like, what are your thoughts about the master passive income business model of buying for cash flow, making sure that you build the business first? How does that help you to be where you are today, where you're literally like you're in New York right now, and this is a Thursday, and you're going to be there for 4 or 5 days with your wife watching plays and everything instead of working, but at the same time, you're still making money. How has the master passive income business model helped you to achieve this?
I think the thing for me that's so great about the model is that it has a pretty like defined like end game in the sense that we're building for cash flow. We're not building straight for appreciation. um, and I often see from friends or friends of friends, people that have gotten burned in real estate and have kind of given up on it. A lot of it comes down to, well, I was going for appreciation and this thing didn't appreciate like I thought. And so that's what I love about the model is that there's just so much more control over your own destiny. In this model, are you going to make $100,000 in your first year from selling or from like buying one property and holding it? No, like you're not going to, but the long-term play here just makes so much more sense that the risk level is so much less. And it's this like recurring revenue, right? Versus this one-time flip thing or wholesaling thing. Not to say those things are bad, but as far as a sustainable business that gets you to the point where you don't have to work anymore and you can choose to do what you want with your time, I don't see another way that's better. And that's one thing that really drew me to your podcast is, I spent a lot of time when I first wanted to kind of invest in real estate, kind of studying what went wrong in '08 and '09. And a lot of that was people banking on appreciation. And that's what's so cool about this model is, if the if the housing market crashes tomorrow, which it totally could, like I'll be totally fine and the properties will go back up in value at some point, but will have no rush to sell anything. All the bills will be taken care of. We'll still be making cash flow. And that's just such a cool thing. And then being able to plan from there, okay, when do I want to, stop working and spend more time doing the things that I want? And obviously real estate's helped us do that to an extent. And I think it will, furthermore down the line, kind of full time.
Now, you also came on working with me, basically just helping me out because I definitely have a lot of people that want either coaching or more information about, yeah, like the real estate wealth builders and the courses and everything like that. I just don't have enough time in the day to take it on. And you said, hey, Dustin, let me take that on for you. And it's been a huge help. So walk us through if somebody's going to give a call or get in a call with you to talk about coaching, to get your experience as well as understanding about the whole entire coaching or the real estate wealth builders and the group coaching. How does that call play out?
Yeah, basically, I've had a ton of these calls and they've been a lot of fun. But basically, how it kind of goes is that we first kind of talk about why the person wants to get involved with real estate. What's kind of their end game? What's their major goals that they want to do? That's obviously the most important thing. Is you got to have that vision that you're working towards. Otherwise, you're not going to have the impetus to move forward when stuff gets tough. So we talked through that, and then we talked through, um, you know, how quickly they want to move, what kind of money they have set aside for this, their willingness in order to like work, how hard they want to work on this, things like that, and just kind of walk through all those things. We then walk through what all options we have at Master Passive Income in terms of coaching, whether that's the group coaching or the one-on-one, and I think it's really cool because people, will get on the call and they'll be like, "Hey, listen to Dustin's podcast, and it all sounds good or whatever." But I'm trying to get like give me the lowdown, give me the real spiel. And for me, it's easy. I'm just like, okay, cool. Like I'll just tell you my story. And I went from knowing literally nothing to where I'm at now in 2 years just because of this coaching. And so for me, it's just fun because it's an opportunity to tell people about what all you're doing in the coaching and to share personally how it's changed my life. And that's why I told you originally when I wanted to do the calls. I said this will be like literally the easiest pitch ever because I literally just tell them what happened to me, and there's no fluff. It's just like, hey, I did this through Dustin, and you can too.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, and I love that you take those calls because I can only give them so much. Like they listen to my podcasts, YouTube videos, all that sort of stuff. And if that's not convincing enough, having somebody else like you who's literally done it just to say, "Hey, I'm vouching for it." So that's a huge help. Is there any advice that of all the things you've learned through building your business, is there any advice that you'd be able to give us as we are becoming investors?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, kind of the two things you have to think about are one, find someone, whether it's Dustin through coaching or whatever, find someone that's done what you want to do and network with them, like get to know them. Find some, if it's not you through the coaching, if it's someone else, find something that you can give to them in order for you to just learn from them. Because I know for me personally, the amount of bazillion-dollar mistakes I would have made had I not learned from someone that's actually done exactly what I want to do. I would have blown so much money on just dumb mistakes. So that would be one thing I would say is just find someone that's done what you want to do and figure out a way to learn from them. Um, and then secondly, kind of going back to the problem solving thing is just, you got to have the mindset that there are going to be roadblocks. I think when we go into a process, like for instance, with the first house, it actually went very smooth. Like it went really, really smooth. Everything, like it was honestly, out of all the deals I've done thus far, it was probably the easiest deal in terms of like paperwork, negotiation, all that stuff. It was probably the easiest. So I think I got this mindset of like, oh, well, this is just going to be this easy all the time. And I think having a mindset of like, you got to expect the unexpected and know that there's going to be roadblocks and just being okay with that. Because I think if you go in thinking this is going to be just some la-di-da, float on through, rinse and repeat every time, it's not going to be. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's just really important for people to know that, so that when the unexpected happens, as it does quite often in real estate, you're able to kind of roll with the punches. And yeah, I think that's, like I said, that's been a big lesson this year is just things aren't always going to be exactly the same and you can't control a whole lot. So you just got to be able to work through with the control that you do have and just be willing to be flexible.
Now, if anybody wants to talk to Benjamin, on my website, you'll find a button at the top talking about, it's basically book a call. So you're going to book a call with Benjamin. If you go onto any of my pages where I talk about real estate wealth builders or the coaching, you can book a call with Benjamin and chat with him about it. So, hey, Benjamin, I thank you so much, number one, for allowing me to be your coach, because it was so much fun watching you go through this process and then getting to where you're at now, and then just really to want to help and serve and give back to other people and coming on as doing these calls. It's just been a blessing. So I really appreciate you, man. I'm glad that we met and glad to see where you're going.
Yeah, man. Thank you again. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure. And yeah, like you said, book a call. Let's chat. I'd love to tell you that you should do it even more and talk about whatever questions you have. So yeah, book a call soon. Let's chat.